It's fat bike time here on KevCentral, and today I'm looking at the Mongoose Malus. I've had requests to look at more Amazon bikes, and along with Walmart and other big box stores, there are Mongoose bikes on Amazon. And that's where the Malus I was sent to review can be found. And on Amazon, this bike is $319.99, so let's take a look at it and see what first impressions it gives. Fat tire bikes are unique in that those fat tires are the single defining standout feature. They are hard to miss. So for the Malus, we're going to start with those tires. These are Chow Yang branded knobbies, and in the fat tire realm, 26 still rules. These are 26 by 4 inches. And the camera doesn't do justice to just how wide these are. Especially the rims, they're huge. I mean, every component is massive. The hubs, even the bottom bracket. It's freakishly large so the frame can accommodate those big wheels. Amazon or not, this is a big box bike, so looking past those tires, you'll see a lot of big box components. Let's give those a quick rundown. The headset's threadless and the bars are 710mm wide, but they're the smaller 25.4 inch diameter. The Mongoose branded grips look to be the same grips that come as factory on the XR Pro, except they're cut down a little bit to accommodate the twist shifter. More on that in a bit. The frame, it has a straight steer and roundish tubes, and the welds, well, whoever did the welds, they're not going to graduate welding class with honors, but they will graduate. And there's a lot of steel, like the quick release seat clamp, the seat post, and the seat rails. The fork is steel too, and when it comes to fat bikes under $1,000, you're going to get a rigid fork. There's also not going to be a quick release. Both the wheels, front and rear, are going to be bolt-on. The brakes are disc, front and rear, with 160mm rotors, and these are generic mechanicals that we usually see on affordable bikes. I'm going to be curious to see how these handle stopping all this weight. The bike weighs 43 pounds, and most of that coming from those big wheels and tires. Looking at the crank group, the pedals are plastic, and the crank arms, they're not the thickest, but also I've seen thinner. And the Pro Wheel branded chainring, it's a single chainring because this is a 1x7, with the 7 being the usual 14 to 28 tooth freewheel. The derailleur's a tourney, but curiously they used a non-replaceable hanger version. Now, this isn't a bike I see as being an upgrade platform because fat bike wheel sets are just too expensive. So I guess it's not a big deal, but it is a curious choice. So like I said earlier, this bike is all about those fat tires and that big wheel set. So going into it, I was curious if riding a fat bike was a labor of love or if they're just outright fun. Before I get into the whole fat part, I want to address that twist shifter. Now it does work, and it works well, but at $320, I also question this choice because I expect a trigger shifter. But that's based on my experience trying to use a twist shifter with sweaty hands in the summer. And the generic mechanical disc brakes, they do work and they stop the bike, but they're at their absolute limit trying to stop these 43 pounds and those huge rolling wheels. Now, it just mentions stopping, but getting going, you know that 1x7 that a lot of us have been clamoring about? Well, it turns out spinning up all this rotating mass, it's also the limit, at least for me, of this setup, especially with that 14 to 28 tooth freewheel range. It also limits the top speed, meaning this is it, max speed. But that's fine, because I view this more as an explorer than anything, and I love the roar of those beefy tires at any speed. If there's one thing that shocked me more than anything else about this bike, it's the monster truck mentality that takes over. Because it didn't take long before I started rolling over things, and once I started, I haven't stopped. And this is one of those bikes that you can take into areas that you wouldn't normally take other bikes, glass-littered, rubbish-strewn industrial areas. I started out rolling over cans, and that quickly escalated. The next thing you know, I've graduated to riding over piles of busted up concrete blocks. This thing rolls right over them like it's nothing. So be forewarned, if you get a Malus or a fat bike in general, you'll be riding into areas that you normally wouldn't be considering. I also want to mention air pressure, because fat tire max inflation, at least these, is 20 psi. I read online that people recommend 10, but on the street I found 10 to almost feel like what I would expect riding drunk to feel like. Not my thing. So I found 15 psi to be my sweet spot, and that's both for off-road riding where I get a little bit of cush, and also on the road where it doesn't slow me down. Another fat bike benefit that I didn't really expect was, you know those loose patches of gravel, the ones you tend to avoid on certain bikes? Well, they're a non-issue with the Malus. You'd be amazed how much of a benefit that is when riding around on city streets, especially when traffic's coming up behind you. You just go into the gravel lots and then veer back on the road. That's really the tale of the Malus experience, because there's so much that I didn't expect, but also the mayhem-inspired roll over anything fun. That's why I now look forward to riding it each and every opportunity, because it adds an entirely new dimension to cycling. And I think that outweighs the few shortcomings, like the big box components, the trigger shifters, and those disc brakes, the limits of that freewheel, that 7-speed 14 to 28 tube. Now, I said earlier, this bike is what it is. I don't consider it as an upgrade platform, though there are a couple of things that I think I can do to make it better for cheap. Like, I have a 7-speed trigger shifter laying around. I think I'm going to swap that out for the twist shifter. And also, there's a 7-speed mega range freewheel that's under $20. I think those two things may step this up into an even more fun experience. Because fun is probably the perfect descriptor for the Mongoose Malus and sums up the joys I've had thus far, with more to come, so stay tuned. And now I want to know what you think about the Mongoose Malus, or even fat bikes in general. Comment below. Thanks for watching another KevCentral bike review, and if you want more content, consider becoming a patron like Ivan C. Patron or subscriber, there's always something new at KevCentral, so make sure you're subscribed, and have a great day.